Okay, we're back here. I'm just going to do kind of a quick one-off here. We're looking at the back side of St. Cloud here. I was just in that aisleway there. But coming off the St. Cloud, we're putting in this line called the St. Cloud Cutoff. And this is basically just going to allow us to reconnect, following this track right here in the foreground. This will allow us to connect to Duluth and gives us another kind of scenic run through here, because when we're looking at it, we had the staple sub back here, the Hinckley branch down here, with this big wide gap in here, so we're able to get the other line in there, and it makes a couple nice little connections here. So we'll just follow this into, excuse me, where this reconnects back into this yard over here. This yard, as we'll see, is going to be located below the Staples yard. But from there, this just reattaches in this area and then starts its grade climb. The track on the back side, we can actually kind of follow now. It is the Hinckley sub connection. So that one's coming out underneath, which is this lower line here. And then this, I think, in reality, from the actual branch line, the Hinckley sub would just continue back down to Coon Creek. The branch line we're going to be modeling off of the Hinckley sub goes down to Rush City to a rather large mill, and then just beyond Rush City actually dead ends. So we'll follow this line. So we would have just basically left Hinckley just for operational. We're going to leave it the double track 2. Or actually, this is actually a big siding, I'm sorry. Or this is the main line. We have our siding here. So coming off the siding, we have the entry tracks to the mill. It breaks off into 4 more tracks, or it fans out. You have your 1 house track on the outside of the building here, and then 3 house tracks on the inside of the building there. So those are all the industry tracks for that company. And just got an overview shot of it. And there are 2 more tracks, but you really can't see on the picture. If you need to know that bad, you can Google it up, but it's a big company up in Rush City. So we will be looking directionally north. You get your main and siding, and then these will continue south. They would in reality dead end and go back up towards Hinckley on the Hinckley sub, but just for the sake of the layout, we're going to continue through, and then once it enters this kind of tunnel portal, this will continue hidden underneath St. Cloud. At this point, it also branches off and kind of runs back here. I talked about much earlier. This is that connection that goes to the helix. So if you can follow this kind of Y here, reconnecting up right there, and then those tracks would enter into the helix. Right now it's a temporary reconnection, which you can't see under that mess of homosode over there, but I'll show you at a different point. The other direction this comes out is right here, and this gets completely behind. It reattaches to go down to that Hinckley sub, and then that goes into Cambridge. That's where that siding starts. So coming back this way, that's where the Y begins, and it also continues straight. So this is the straight portion now, and then reconnects with that Y. So this is basically a 2-sided monster to get us in and out of the helix. Some tracks for basically any destinations north. So Canada, a lot of CP traffic, CN traffic, TAC trains from DMIR, stuff like that. So that is going to be that Hinckley sub. So now we'll meet you on the rails again, and we'll continue back up with the staple sub. Okay, we're back to the staple sub again. We're coming north out of St. Cloud here. And as we come around the corner here, we did originally have where these two risers are. We actually stole the Homosote for something else, but there is a paper mill that's in a city called Sartell, just north of St. Cloud, and it no longer receives rail car service because it actually had a fire, burnt down some of the buildings, but it did take some, I think it was a pulpwood industry. So we're possibly going to put that back in here. We can grab some more pieces of Homosote, but we had to steal it for other purposes. So following the back here, this is kind of just more or less scenic running. A lot of northern Minnesota, big trees and plains and prairies, stuff like that, lakes, the whole 9 yards. So nice little kind of bridge junction here. So this line back here underneath here, actually I just covered in the last segment here, that is the Y tracks here. So this will feed into the helix, which you can see on the ground right in here, my thumb. So that'll actually, whichever way I look at it, but it's truly right about there. So that'll feed in, and then right now we just have this as a temporary junction right there over to that cutoff. So back to the staple sub. I got the double tracks running here. Again, more or less just some scenic running. And then now we start to come into the town of Staples. So we'll leave that little quick short segment for the scenic run, and we'll catch you guys in Staples. Alright, we are at the west end of Staples. We did have to actually flip the town around to make it fit on the layout, to get the kind of yard going nice how we wanted to. So off here, we got the yard ladder feeds coming into the tracks, the arrival yard, and holding tracks, departure tracks. But the two outsides are going to be the mains, and you have 4 year-long tracks. Each one of these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, are a minimum of, I want to say, 36 feet long. So they range anywhere from 36 beyond. So nice big long tracks coming into the yard. And as they wrap around this corner, they fan out into the classification tracks, whatever, all 9 yards on the upper side. We'll have your icing shed, and we'll get down there in a second to the roundhouses, but you can kind of follow the main lines here on the outside of the Homosote. And then just around that yellow box, they kind of jut out from the yard for the station platform and stuff like that. But you can see industry here, and then fanning out, so more kind of scenic stuff to do in the center of this one. Possibly actually just model the town, model more city in here. And then we're going to jump back real quick to that Hinckley sub and the St. Cloud cutoff. Those 2 tracks are basically going to be coming underneath Staples, and we'll have a little, I think it's a 6-track yard down here. And then once we get down to the far end, I'll take you on the reverse loop, which will turn the trains around. There's also a track in this area. You can actually see the Homosote bend off to the right, which will go to Duluth, and allow the Hinckley sub to have the connection back up with the Staples. So going back up topside, we'll start walking the Staples yard. And in the foreground is the freight house. Underneath this all, sorry about that, there will be the depot up in here. This track right here, which this box is sitting on, is a pullback track for these 2 businesses right in here. Where all the clamps are is where the main line kind of divides from the yard. You have your yard feeds, the pullback track for the yard. And then kind of drawn on the ground is where some of the stuff will be. And then back in this area, Staples had 2 roundhouses back in the time. This one was removed, this one was held until much later. And then we're going to be modeling this turntable along with 6 stalls in this roundhouse. And then these tracks come back to your car shops, which those will go back into there. So this will be kind of the car shop, diesel shop area. And then the yard kind of fans out again underneath all of the flex track pieces. So, and then the ladders come back down here. I think the first 2 coal tracks for the holding of the coal trains. And then back to the main lines. Continuing eastbound in Staples. And coming out of the eastern side of town. In reality, the Y to go back down towards Brainerd would be in this area, so we're just modeling this kind of leg of it. We'll have this industry coming off here, which is Suburban Propane, holding 2 cars. And then another industry back here, Ready Mix, 3 cars. So going any further east would be taking us into Brainerd, so we're gonna leave it off for Staples at that point. And then I'm gonna also run back to that yard that was underneath with the turn loop here. Actually, it'll probably be a better angle to me to pick it up at Brainerd, so we're gonna leave Staples off for this point. Okay, we're back again. Now we're on the flip side of Staples, so I'm on the back, a little closer to the actual turntable roundhouses. And then I had those tracks here, but going back to underneath the Hinkley sub yard, this track coming off here is going to be the connection track back into allowing us to go to Duluth. And this area we will get to after Brainerd here, but that's the Duluth, Saunders, Boylston, stuff like that. So we're going back to this track here, and then if we go back underneath, this track will line down, run through the yard, and then start the Hinkley sub south. The secondary track right here coming off is going to be the outer edge of reverse loop. So that has been placed underneath, and then this will feed into the center of the yard, and then the tracks will fan out, and then you'll have a 6-track yard coming down to basically a point, and then those will all fan into that reversing loop. Also off this side of it over here, we're going to have another connection Y, almost so it's right there for that, but this piece will allow us to do to Y trains through here as well. So that is going to be underneath the Staples. That's kind of the Hinkley subdivision yard going into Duluth. So we'll jump back and we'll catch back up in Brainerd.